Hey everybody, welcome back to Simply Holy Living, a practical guide for living the open-handed life every day. And today is Friday. It is the 6th day of the week, and the Sabbath is going to be coming in just a few hours here. So what's happening today in creation? Let's look at we're in chapter 1. Verse 24, and God said, let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that move along the ground, and wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make man in our own image, in our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over the earth, and over the creatures that move along the ground. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. And then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit and seed in it. They'll be yours for food, and to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move on the ground. Everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the 6th day. Okay, so today I'm waking up. It's Friday, even though somehow in my brain I'm supposed to know that the 6th day started at sundown yesterday. I still can't get that into my brain. But two things about this day. One is kind of a little bit off of my normal subject here of what I do on Fridays. But I wanted to speak to it because last night, actually, the spiritual battle sort of started for me last night. Now, yesterday I talked about how the spiritual battle is really intense on Fridays. And but the thing is that I was unprepared, that the spiritual battle for me actually started really intensely last night, and I completely tanked, completely failed. I was unprepared. I made a big deal out of it was really nothing. It was nothing that should have been a big deal. I think I was just not doing my best, and I think that I wanted to just share it because I feel like this is a normal thing that happens to us, right? We've embarked on an endeavor. We are like, yes, I'm going to do this thing. I'm trying to do whatever it is, if it's Sabbath keeping or anything else. And we're going and we're going and we're going. And then we just, we fail. We get knocked down. And I was thinking about all the feelings that come with that, the feelings of wanting to quit. And you throw in the towel on everything. And I have seen this happen so many times in my own life and in other people's lives, that they're on a great trajectory. They're going for some things. A lot of times when people are trying to lead a small group, I feel like this happens to people when they're trying to do something good. They're trying to have a Bible talk on Fridays. They're trying to do something good. And then Satan just starts attacking. And then finally, like, that's it. I can't do it. And everything goes out. The baby goes out with the bathwater, right? And I was thinking about how strong that pull was last night because I had just tanked. I made a big deal out of stuff with the kids. It wasn't a big deal. Then I made more of a big deal out of stuff with Jonathan, which wasn't a big deal. Well, partly it was, but partly it's not. So, but I just didn't do well. And so I'm going to bed, with all of that yuck and trying to get myself back into a spiritual mindset, praying, and was just feeling like, the guilt of it. So then I wake up and I'm not feeling so great, and just trying to push through that, realizing as I'm praying and I'm trying to press restart with God and just talk to him about it, realizing, man, you cannot live by your emotions. You have to put stuff into your calendar, put stuff into your life, put stuff into your daily rhythms and your weekly rhythms, and you just need to keep going. Because God is going to show up in the meantime. My soul faints, longing for your salvation, but I have put my hope in your word, Psalm 119. And that helped me yesterday to go, I'm going to put my hope in God's word. That actually helped me this morning as I was recovering from it, is I don't need to hope that these feelings will pass, and I can't wait for all these feelings to pass to actually do anything. I still have to parent today. I still have to do school today. I still have to, make a video today about this Sabbath keeping and this great life. But at the same time, I have to put my hope in God's word. I can't just stop doing what I'm doing and wait for this feeling to pass. So I think that's something that you're going to find as you're doing Sabbath living is, every day is not going to feel great. You still have to push through things, but it's the putting your trust in doing what's right and doing what God wants you to do, and then allowing God to inspire you, to re-inspire you, to give you what's that called? Motivation as he sees fit. When the psalmist says, "Restore to me the joy of my salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me." Sometimes we just need to pray, God, would you give me a willing spirit to do the things I'm supposed to do, because I don't want to do them. I want to just quit. So that's going to happen at times. So anyway, that was just an aside coming in, just to know that we don't have to be ruled by our circumstances and our emotions. We can still do what we're supposed to do, what's right in the moment. God will give us that strength. But on Fridays, I'm looking back at my week and I'm going, okay, well, God did a lot on the sixth day. Actually created all the animals, and separately he created man. And there's just so much to get out of this. And I think the thing that something that really makes me feel reassured or secure is that when God made man, he didn't make him to be separate from everything else that he had created. He created him to be a part of this world, to be a part of creation, and an integral part of it, to basically have dominion over the earth and subdue it, which in general means taking care of all of the things that were created, taking care of creation. We are the caretakers of creation. And that actually helps me, because sometimes we can get into this thought. I'm studying medieval times right now and the Renaissance, and you see how many times people got into this feeling that in order to be right with God, you had to completely disconnect from this world and just be spiritually whatever their thinking is, spiritually minded all the time, in some trance-like state, or meditating for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then you are a spiritual person. And that's not the commands that God gave man from the very beginning. God gave man the command to live among these animals, take care of the earth, subdue it, learn, grow, have a great time. I mean, he created these stars. They're learning about the stars. They're learning about the plants and the way that they grow. They're learning about the animals. They're doing stuff. They're tilling the earth. Work was created before the Sabbath. They were doing stuff. Before the fall, sorry. Work was created before the fall. So it's not like working in this world is a bad thing. We are supposed to be a part of creation and enjoying it. Enjoying everything that's all these cool things that people come up with, music and art and all of this. We were created for it. We weren't created to be separated from it. It doesn't mean you're extra spiritual because you can meditate for hours at a time. I'm going to look back at what was the command given these people at the time. Basically, enjoy the earth and have sex. That was a part of the creation. That was a good thing. This was all good before the fall. Be fruitful. Kids are a blessing. Enjoy what I've given you. So I learned about that just to say, I'm saying that on this Sabbath keeping or Sabbath living video series, just to say Sabbath living is a beautiful life. It's a life that takes part in all of creation. It's not some super spiritual, aesthetic, crazy thing that you do. It's just a normal part. And so on the sixth day, I'm really focusing on, okay, what do I still have left to do? God still was creating the animals and man on this day. So there's still stuff left to do. I know that my kids, we're going to be doing school. It's going to be a modified school schedule today. I have different things that happen on Friday, which is kind of a nice thing. We're still doing math. We're still doing music. We're still doing stuff, but it happens in a different way. So I'm going to make sure that stuff is happening. They have a special art class they get to go to on this day. They're going to go to therapy. My older son has classes online that he has to do. I have a special, a standing breakfast appointment for the staff, church staff women that we do every Friday. So that's going to happen, which is a real blessing to me. And I'm also just looking around going, what did I forget to do yesterday, or what hasn't gotten done yet, which is going to happen because life happens. So still, I forgot yesterday to get a ride for my son to get to a thing tonight. I forgot to check on a couple things. There's still a little bit of laundry that got left over that didn't get done. So I'm going to do that. But basically, I'm all about, I want to see if I can get everything done by 4 o'clock today. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to. Is I'm like, okay, so by 4 o'clock today, I need to make sure that the remainder of the work has been done. So all of that, what we're going to do is we're going to go through our day, and then sometime around 3, maybe 3 o'clock, we're going to sort of shut down whatever we're doing, and we're going to set the table for the Sabbath. I know this sounds early, but this has gotten backed up over time. This is just a little word to the wise. It may not be necessary, but I do it early so it doesn't stress me out. So Jonathan's in charge. He always sets the table, so he's going to set the table for the Sabbath. The kids are going to make sure that the rooms are cleaned, all the way they need to be. I'm going to make sure I've done everything, all the clothes are put away, whatever, all the little stuff. This is the little extra leftover stuff that's been done. By 3 o'clock. Now, before I do that, I've set into my schedule during this day, this afternoon, morning, where I'm going to actually be, this sounds crazy, but I'm actually be preparing for Monday. So, because I don't want my mind all preoccupied with it over the weekend. And what happens is on your Sabbath, if you feel really unprepared for what's coming, you feel like you have this big burden on you, it'll be really hard to relax. Now, we still sometimes are going to feel that way, but I do whatever I can on Friday. So for people who know they have stuff that's going to be due on Monday, stuff that they're going to have to be prepared for, I try to think to Monday, what is it going to feel like on Monday when I get up and I know that I have this and this and this on the schedule? What do I need to get done today to make sure that Monday is going to be smooth? So I'm doing everything. It's like it's a pre-preparation, because I'm going to have a little time on Sunday, but I cannot leave every single preparation for Monday for Sunday, or I will start my week off poorly. So I'm going to end my week thinking about Monday, just because that is a day that has stuff that's extra in it. Now, I might also have, if I know that Sunday is some sort of weird day, like if we have a recital, or if we have something big on that day, if we have a meeting or something, then I'll go, oh, I got to think about that too. So I'm really thinking forward to Sunday and Monday today, and I'm going to look at my calendar, and I'm going to make sure that I know what's going on for those days, so that when I finally do get into my Sabbath later on tonight, then I am not still tortured by those thoughts of next week. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing today, because that's the way I've constructed my time. It's going to be about getting the last minute things done here, my modified school schedule, and thinking forward to Sunday and Monday. Now, I hope so. I'm telling you that's what my schedule is, because I'm in charge of my schedule. So what do people do if they work in an office and there's, I can't get off until a certain time? I've read a lot of books on the Sabbath in the past, and it just talks about how, interestingly, one of the people that I liked to follow, she talks about how the reason that she started doing Sabbath is basically she went and lived in Israel for a year, and she was just struck by how on Fridays at about 3 o'clock, even earlier, some of the shops would close at noon. Some of them would close at 3 o'clock, because their entire culture observes the Sabbath. And she realized, they had all constructed into their week. Now, of course, they're open on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, half day on Friday. They had constructed into their week that time to prepare. And then all the people that are in charge of the meals are going to the bakeries on Friday morning, and they're getting their challah bread, and they're getting all their stuff that they need. Everybody is preparing for that Sabbath meal on that day. Okay, so even the men are doing that. The men are taking off early. Now, we live in this culture like, well, how do we even do that if we work in offices and we have jobs and we have to clock in, we have to clock out, that kind of thing. And I would just say, first of all, there's a lot of people who don't live like that. So if you are a person that's in charge of your own schedule and you can kind of work around things, then do it. That's at least half the people right there. So work your schedule. Maybe your husband is their schedule isn't as flexible, but your schedule is. Maybe that's the case. Then work it. Okay, so, and then for those who don't seem to have a flexible schedule, one of the things that I have sort of seen or watched other people do is the same concept that I have always taught and I've watched miraculously develop when people are called to sort of give up whatever it was they were doing on Sunday so that they could be at church. Now, this is something we're familiar with. We try to help people to go, well, maybe you need a different job. If it keeps you from worshiping on Sundays, maybe you need to get a different job, or maybe you need to approach it differently, or maybe you need to ask. And I've given this story out before about my friend who was in the professional symphony in Florida when she became a Christian, and they rehearsed during church time, and she thought, well, I'll just have to quit. But then she thought, well, I'm going to go in and just ask. So she goes to the director and asks if there's a reason why they have to rehearse on Sunday mornings or if it could be changed. And lo and behold, they changed it. So I'm kind of looking at the Sabbath this way. I don't know. Maybe God would actually provide a way if you would ask. Maybe there is a way for you to take a half day on Fridays. Maybe it's a way that you use some of your extra time and you go, I'm just going to take these few hours. It's just 2 hours or a half a day or even 1 hour on Fridays. Who knows? I don't know. Sometimes you're in college and you have to take a class and it goes until, 5 o'clock on Fridays or whatever. So I understand all of that. I'm just saying maybe there is a way. And see what you can do. See if God would actually open it up. See, just, that whole thing. Trust me in this and see if I don't open the floodgates of heaven. Maybe there is going to be a way for you to back it up. And then at the end of the day, if there's not, perhaps it's something that you guys decide as a family, go, well, we're actually going to start our Sabbath on Saturday morning and it goes until, Sunday morning. I don't know. Figure out what 24-hour time period, and I really do recommend the 24-hour time period. Figure out what 24-hour time period you can do where you can set it apart. You can set it aside as holy. The only things I caution about this is to make sure it's not random, because a rhythm of the Sabbath does seem to be important. The 6 days of work followed by a day of rest does seem to be important. So I would caution you to keep it at two things. I would caution you to keep it at 24 hours, that it's not like, well, I take Thursday afternoons off. That's my Sabbath. No, that's time off for yourself. It's not the same. A Sabbath is giving up. It's giving up the 24 hours. It's accepting. It's entering into the rest of God. Okay, and then the other thing is that I would make sure it doesn't happen at different times. Even I remember when Jay and I were making our living as musicians solely, and we were having a really hard time in our life, because we had just had a baby, our first baby. So we had a 1-year-old, and God was using this time to sort of delve deep into our souls and repair some things, repair those broken down walls and that damaged stuff that it talks about in Isaiah. He was repairing us and healing us through this 1-year-old experience. So we were having to deal with a lot of things that came out through in our hearts. And we were both working as professional musicians. So basically our schedule was very hectic. We took gigs whenever we could get them. And so we didn't have a rhythm to our life. And I remember our marriage was just doing terribly. And so we were having to sit down with the Lambs, Roger and Marcia Lamb, if anybody remembers them, great, amazing leaders in the church at the time. And, I just remember Roger going, well, what's a day that you could possibly say, we're just not taking gigs on this day? And we were like, well, Monday. Monday is the day that there's probably not going to be a rehearsal. That was just the way it was in our life. And so he said, just decide that Mondays is never going to be a gig day for you. And this wasn't even about Sabbath living. It was just about marriage saving. So I remember doing that. And even in that, God provided. I mean, that was a huge thing for us, that Monday night. Man, we had Monday night dates, and Mondays were like kind of sacred for our marriage, and it really healed us. It healed our marriage in a great way. And so I'm just speaking to that concept that when you go after something and decide, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this because I believe that God wants me to, and I feel like He's leading me to it, He will make a way. So on Fridays, if there's any way for you to do it differently, if there's any way for you to get off work early, if there's any way for you to make it different, it will really help you. I'm even experimenting now. So I just got to the point, just so you know, it's 2 years now, and I just now got to the point where I realized I can't actually schedule things on Friday to get done for the Sabbath. They all have to be done by Thursday. So on Friday, I can do the things that got left over. But now I'm experimenting with, okay, well, what would happen if I'm sort of looking at my afternoon, how I get into it, if I did, if that was my day when I went to the chiropractor or got a massage or did yoga. I have my own little holy yoga thing that I do. If I entered into it with that more, trying to get my body to relax a little bit more, because sometimes it can be like, and you're trying to do the Sabbath meal, and really you're very, very tense. It's going to take a while for it to go down. So I don't know if that'll happen or not. That would be luxurious if it did happen, but I'm going to experiment with it. Next year I'll let you know how it goes. So anyway, figure out what you can do today to make it a day of preparation that will render you in a more contemplative, meditative mood by the time the Sabbath starts. But for a while, you probably won't get there. Just be patient with yourself. When you're starting off celebrating the Sabbath, you're not going to do it. Not going to do it perfectly. You may not even do it well. Satan is going to oppose you, and he's going to try to make it seem like a burden and that this isn't working. And you're going to have an expectation that's unmet. You're going to, you sit down with your little 3-year-old and 2-year-old, and you thought this was going to be a lot better than it was. But it's okay. I'm going to talk about that on the next video. But you gotta set your expectations a little bit lower than probably you're used to, and just be happy with progress. That's what we're going for, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. And that is the video for Friday morning. Until next time.